Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you are watching this video, let me welcome you all to our channel Future Endeavors. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the conditions which are necessary for the formation of a covalent or electrovalent bond. Now, before I discuss the conditions, just we have to go through three terms which are very much important while we are describing the conditions for the formation of covalent or electrovalent bond. So first term that we are going to discuss is electronegativity. Electronegativity. So what is electronegativity? Now you have seen that the atoms combine to form molecules, isn't it? Now when these atoms combine to form molecules, especially in case of covalent bond, what happens? There are shared pair of electrons which is placed in between the space of the two atoms. Okay. Now there are certain atoms of certain elements which have a more higher tendency to attract those shared pair of electrons more towards itself. Okay. On the other hand, there are atoms of certain elements which have a lesser tendency to attract those shared pair of electrons towards themselves. In simple words, we can say that this term can be defined as it's the tendency of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons, towards it when present in a molecule. You must note this term that this tendency is under the condition that when the atom is present in the molecule. Okay, so this is electronegativity. So it's a tendency that as you have seen in covalent bond, electron pairs are being shared. Okay, and in that case, what happens? The atoms tend to attract electron. As you have seen, if you consider the case of water, oxygen has a little bit more tendency to attract the shared pair of electrons than hydrogen, and this tendency of attracting electrons depends on certain factors. We will be not discussing those in today's class. We will be rather discussing in a separate class. Okay, but for as of now today, just understand this basic thing that this is just the tendency of the atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself. Okay, and likewise the oxygen has a greater tendency to attract the electrons than the hydrogen atoms. Okay, so this is electronegativity. The second term that we are going to understand is electron affinity. Okay, so in simple terms, what is meant by the term affinity? It is also can be considered to be a synonymical term for attraction. Okay, affinity. Fine. So what is electron affinity? Now when an atom is in an isolated state, understand this, when an atom is in an isolated state and it's say accepts certain electrons, accepts an electron, okay, then it has been observed that when the atom accepts the electron, it has to give off or radiate out some of its energy. Okay, this energy which is being given off, okay, or released by the atom in the neutral state to convert itself into an ion. How it is forming an ion? By accepting an electron. This tendency of accepting the electron, this tendency of releasing out the energy while accepting the electron can be regarded as electron affinity. Or in simple terms, you can also say it that like this, that the general tendency to attract electrons easily towards itself. Okay, when the atom is in an isolated state. Remember this thing, in case of electronegativity you have seen when the atom is present in a molecule. Electron affinity, this term is used for an atom which is in the isolated state that is not present in a molecule. So electron affinity it can be said to be, so amount of energy released by an atom in, note this term, note this word, in the isolated state in the isolated state, when it accepts an electron, and forms, what kind of ion is formed when it accepts electron and forms a negatively charged ion. So what is a negatively charged ion called? It is called an ion, and forms an ion. Okay, so it's the amount of energy released by an atom in the isolated state when it accepts an electron and forms an ion. Okay, so it's clear. So this is what we know as electron affinity. In simple words, this electron affinity can also, it's just regarded like this. It's the force or force of attraction with which the atom attracts electrons, or tendency of attaching electrons into its shell. It can be also said in simple terms like this also, tendency of attaching electrons into its shell. Okay, and the difference between electronegativity and electron affinity, it might sound to be similar, the words electronegativity and electron affinity, but there is difference. Electronegativity, it's when is the term used when the atom is present within the molecule. Okay, and electron affinity, remember this thing, electron affinity, it's when it's in the isolated state, and it accepts an electron to form the anion. Okay, so I think is it clear? Electron affinity and electronegativity. The third term that we are going to discuss is ionization potential. If you have not written these two terms, please pause the video and do note it down. Okay, third term that we are going to discuss is ionization potential. Okay, so what is ionization potential? Ionization potential, it can be somewhat said to be the opposite of electron affinity. Why? See, when an atom tries to remove an electron from its outermost shell, it has to spend some of the energy. It has to, rather you can see, it absorbs energy from the surroundings. Okay, sometimes it does so also, but it may not be the case. It has to spend some of its energy of its own, that is the energy of the atom decreases, in order to remove the electron, and that amount of energy is called the ionization potential. So we can define this as amount of energy required to remove, okay, amount of energy required by an atom in the isolated state, okay, to remove one electron from its outermost shell. Okay, outermost shell. So it's clear. So ionization potential is the amount of energy that is required by an atom in the isolated state. Again, we are using this term, in the isolated state, to remove, okay, to remove one electron from its outermost shell, and as a result the atom is converted into a charged ion, and the charged ion is known as cation. To remove an electron from its outermost shell to form a cation. So this can be said to be the definition of ionization potential. So is it clear? So as we have now understood these three terms, now time is not permitting us. In the next class, we will be discussing the conditions necessary for the formation of electrovalent bond and the condition necessary for the formation of covalent bond. I hope you have understood these three terms. If not, please go through it once again. It will definitely clear. And then if you have any problem, to mention it in the comment box. We will be happy to solve your problem. Thank you. Goodbye.